There was a day. You do not remember it. That is the point. That is the thing about this particular day that makes it different from every other day you can name. The birthdays, the losses, the moments that announce themselves as significant. This day did not announce itself. It arrived looking exactly like every other day. It wore the same clothes. It made the same sounds. The coffee was the same temperature. The light came through the same window at the same angle. And somewhere inside that ordinary day, without ceremony, without witnesses, without any signal that something of consequence was happening, you stopped. Not your heart, not your breath. Something quieter than that, and in some ways more essential. The part of you that reached toward life. The part that wanted things not because they were necessary, but because something in you was drawn to them. The part that made you, specifically and irreplaceably, you. That part stopped reaching. And the day ended. And you went to sleep. And the next day came, and you got up and you moved through it, and nothing felt dramatically different because the stopping had been so quiet, so gradual, so perfectly disguised as normalcy that it registered as nothing at all. That is what I want to talk to you about today. Not a crisis, not a breakdown, not a moment you can point to and say, there, that is where it happened. I want to talk about the slow disappearance, the one that happens in plain sight, the one that looks from every angle like ordinary life. I want to talk about the day you stopped living without knowing it was that day, because here is what I have come to understand after watching this happen in more lives than I can count. The moments that change everything are rarely the ones that feel like they are changing everything. The dramatic moments, the ones that bring you to your knees, those you survive. You know how to survive those. You have already proven that you know how to survive those. It is the quiet moments that take the most from you, the ones where nothing is asked of you, where the pressure lifts and the urgency fades and the space that opens up is supposed to be freedom but somehow does not feel like it. The ones where you look around at a life that is, by most measures, fine, and feel something underneath the fineness that you cannot quite name. That unnamed thing is the absence of the person you used to be before you learned to need so little. Think about who you were before the years of responsible living settled into something permanent, before the version of yourself that other people needed became the only version you knew how to be, before you learned, so thoroughly that it became invisible, to locate yourself last on every list. There was a person there who had not yet learned all of that, who still reached, who still wanted, who still moved through the world with some animal sense that their presence in it mattered, that their desires were worth taking seriously, that the particular texture of their inner life was something worth attending to. That person did not leave on a day you remember. They left on the day you do not. They left gradually, the way light leaves in the evening. You do not see it happening. You do not watch the room get darker. And then at some point you look up and realize it is dark, and you cannot say exactly when that happened, only that it did. Now I want to ask you something that I need you to answer honestly. Not for me, not out loud, but in the place inside yourself where you still tell the truth even when it is inconvenient. When you wake up in the morning, what do you reach for first? Not physically, I mean in the deeper sense. What does the first conscious moment of your day move toward? Is there something that pulls you forward? Some sense, however faint, that this day contains something worth being present for? Some version of anticipation, even quiet anticipation, that orients you toward rather than away? Or does the morning arrive and find you already in a kind of waiting, already managing, already moving through the motions of a day that looks functional from every angle but feels underneath, like going through rooms in a house where the furniture is familiar, but nothing quite belongs to you anymore? If it is the second one, I am not here to make you feel worse about it. I am here because that feeling has a name, and the name is not aging, and the name is not the natural order of things, and the name is certainly not peace, however much it can resemble peace from a distance. The name is the moment after the day you stopped. And what I need you to understand, with every part of yourself, is that the day you stopped is not the day you have to stay stopped. There is no law of nature that says the stopping is permanent. There is no point past which the reaching cannot begin again. There is no age at which the part of you that once moved toward life with curiosity and hunger and some irreducible sense of its own worth becomes finally and irreversibly silent. It is not silent. It is waiting. It has been waiting through all the years of responsible living. through all the mornings of managing and enduring and showing up for everyone except yourself, through all the quiet evenings where you sat in the familiar rooms of a life that belonged to you in every technical sense and felt somehow like a visitor in it. It waited because it knew something you forgot. It knew that the day you stopped was not the final word. It knew that days can be undone. Not the years, not the losses, not the things that cannot be changed, but the stopping. The stopping can be undone. Not tomorrow, not when circumstances are better, or the body is lighter, or the situation is different in whatever way you have decided it needs to be different before you allow yourself to begin again. Now, here, in this moment, which is the only moment that has ever been available to anyone for anything that actually mattered. The day you stopped living without knowing it was that day is behind you. It happened. It was real. And it cost you things you will not get back, and I will not pretend otherwise, because you deserve honesty more than you deserve comfort. But the day you start again is also real. And unlike that other day, this one you get to know about. This one announces itself. This one you can name. This one is not hiding inside ordinary hours wearing the disguise of another unremarkable Wednesday. This one is right here. The version of you that stopped reaching is not the whole story of who you are. It is a chapter, an important one, a long one, a chapter written in the ink of real life with all its weight and complexity. But it is not the final chapter unless you decide it is. You woke up today. That means the story is still being written. That means the person who once reached toward life, who once moved through the world with some sense of their own significance, is not a memory. They are a possibility. They are, in fact, more than a possibility. They are still you, underneath everything that accumulated on top of them. Find that day, not the one where you stopped. That one is gone and does not need you anymore. Find the day where you start again. It is today. It has always been today. And it will keep being today, available and waiting, for as long as you are here to claim it. You are still here. Claim it. I have spoken to people who found that day late. People who looked up at 70, at 75, at 80, and recognized in a single clear moment that they had been absent from their own lives for longer than they could comfortably measure. And what they described was not despair. It was not the crushing weight of irreversible loss, though loss was part of it. What they described was something closer to recognition, the particular sensation of seeing yourself clearly, perhaps for the first time in years, and understanding that the person looking back still has something to give, still has somewhere to go, still contains, underneath all the accumulated weight of a long life fully lived, something alive and particular and worth honoring. One man told me he was 68 years old before he understood that the quietness he had been calling acceptance was actually fear. Fear dressed in the clothing of wisdom. Fear that had convinced him that wanting less was the same as needing less, that shrinking was the same as deepening, that disappearing gracefully was the mature response to getting older. He said the moment he saw it for what it was, the fear did not go away, but it changed shape. It became something he could look at directly instead of something that operated on him from behind. And in that looking, something else opened up. Something that had been there all along, waiting for exactly this kind of honest attention. He said it felt like coming home to a house he had not visited in decades and finding that it had been kept, quietly and faithfully, exactly as he had left it. That house is in you. It has always been in you. The years did not demolish it. The losses did not empty it. The long seasons of putting yourself last did not erase what was there before all of that began. It is there, waiting, the same way it has always waited, with a patience that belongs only to the things in us that are most fundamentally true. The day you stopped living without knowing it was, that day is a fact you cannot change. The day you start again is a fact you get to make. Make it today. Not because it is easy, not because the years of stopped living will simply dissolve the moment you decide to begin. They will not. Beginning again after a long absence is one of the harder things a person can do, precisely because it requires admitting the absence, and admitting the absence means sitting with what it cost. But you have sat with hard things before. You have done the hard thing more times than you can count. You did not survive everything you survived by waiting for the hard thing to become easy. You did it anyway. Do this anyway. The day you stopped living without knowing it was, that day is already written. What happens next is not. You are still writing. Write something worth reading.